There are indications that the National Opposition Coalition Group is yet to decide on a platform to contest the 2027 elections. Contrary to media reports, the options of a new political party or the fusion into an existing party are still being explored. Arise News gathered that a committee headed by a former Rivers State Governor, Rotimi Amechi, is saddled with the task of considering the registration of a new party with the name All Democratic Alliance. Another committee headed by a former Cross Rivers State Governor, Liel Imoke, is heading the team on a possible fusion into an existing party. The Imoke committee has reportedly only recommended the African Democratic Congress, while there were also suggestions for the consideration of the Social Democratic Party. Now, a decision on the preferred strategy is expected to be taken soon. And to help us make sense of all of that, we are being joined now by Salihu Lukman, who is a member of the coalition and not a spokesperson, as earlier stated. We do apologize for that. He's also the party's APC's former national vice chairman for the Northwest. I get that right. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Okay, so before we go into the coalition, while the opposition is still trying to decide the platform to run or not, the governing APC has already begun endorsing President Bola Tinubu for re-election and welcoming defectors from opposition parties. As someone who has been inside the APC and is now a member of opposition, does the opposition, what's your reaction to the endorsements President Tinubu is getting?
Well, I mean, look, my reaction is quite predictable because I'm someone who has written a lot about the way the APC has lost its PRE. And the reality, and I take you back, if you remember, in 2013, 2014, when APC came, it came with the promise of change. And we were very clear what needs to be changed. What needs to be changed at that time, the critical issue was that the problem of imposition in PDP has become a political culture in the country, whereby almost all the parties were operating based on strategy to impose candidates for election. So the fact of democratic tradition allowing for internal competition and contestation was lost. So that formed the basis of APC's promise of change. Now, we had quite initially, if you remember in 2014, the primaries that produced former President Buhari was quite competitive and transparent. Down to the state level, primaries in APC were quite competitive and transparent. I was a very active member in that. And I could attest to it. But gradually from 2019 down the line, we started losing PRE. And the contestation internally inside the APC was quite strong, which led to the change of leadership, especially the change from Comrade Adams, the whole dissolution of National Working Committee under the leadership of Comrade Adams Oshumole was as a result of that contestation, based on the commitment to put the party back on track of its founding vision. Over time, gradually. And we were very clear. For me, it's almost like it's like a heartbreaking experience, because we were very hopeful and convinced that President Asuwaju will make a difference. And we all queued behind him and contested against even the decision of people in President Buhari's government to try and impose somebody else, believing that if Asuwaju come, he will put the party back to its founding vision. Unfortunately, his first step was completely wrong, which was subsidy? Imposing, subsidy is one of it, but so at political level, the first step of imposing Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduji, thereby abrogating the internal agreement of the party, which ceded the national chairman of the party to North Central, was the first problem. And even in the choice of Dr. Ganduji, the expectation of some of us believing that President Asuwaju was a Democrat and a progressive, required that at least if he's picking somebody from Northwest, I was National Vice Chairman Northwest, but I can say authoritatively, none of the party leaders from Northwest was carried along in that decision. And I have written about it and I've said, look, if you consult party leaders from Northwest and allow them in a free atmosphere to choose, if you rank, possibly if you are ranking, Dr. Ganduje may come even the 10th, not among the first. So that is it. So for me, what has happened today convinced me that beyond reasonable doubt, that APC has lost its bearing beyond redemption.
But for a party that's lost its bearing beyond redemption, quoting you, and it's getting so many endorsements, not just from within the party itself, from opposition parties. And I'm wondering whether this coalition of yours, is it not dead on arrival already?
Again, you see, we are dealing with a situation that is very serious, and we need to apply our mind in a creative way. In the first place, it's not today. I told you from day one, we saw this coming. And then initially some of us believe, even outside the leadership of the APC, it was possible to rescue the APC. Then gradually we saw it was not only an attack on the APC as a party, but an attack of political party structures, whereby even the opposition parties were pushed into crisis mode of something that will consume them to the extent that they will be incapable of producing candidates for 2027 election. That was when we now expand and begin to consult people even outside the APC. You know, and we begin to highlight the point that, look, Nigerian democracy is faced with an existential crisis, and we need to, as a people, the same way we fought the military to bring democracy, we need to prepare for that. Because as it is, no doubt, if we allow things to continue, we are going to get to a situation where in 2027, there will be no candidate outside President.
Yeah, but the optics are not even looking good now, because this coalition, there seems to be confusion in
there is
coalition,
no,
whether it is ADC,
there is
is
no,
it a new party,
there is no
is it the
confusion.
SDP, what exactly is it?
You see, perhaps because we are reaching the conclusion, interest is developing. This is something we started much more than a year ago. We did the legal due diligence to find out what are even the situation facing many of the candidate parties that we may want to consider. And we put clear condition because we are interested more, because we don't want to produce another frustration to mobilize Nigerians, defeat a sitting government, and again disappoint Nigerians. So we set up condition knowing fully well, if this democracy is to survive, first and foremost, the party structures must be strong enough to regulate the conduct of elected officials. So the first condition we put is that any party which is considered, they must be ready to submit themselves complete overhaul, including change of leadership. It matters change of the constitution and everything. And we took more than a year. But the other issue which you read, which is the point I need to make, about
the committees,
getting one of the committees to start processing registration of new parties, because we don't want to put our eggs in one basket. Knowing fully well we are dealing with a government that is so aggressive, it will go for the jugular. And which is why we are taking every time. If today we settle, I can assure you we are going to settle in a way, even if people in government attempt to come in to influence internal crisis, we are ready, we deal with them. We deal with it. But more importantly, we are promising Nigerians, we are going to produce a party that is truly a political party. I mean, you can't declare non-opposition to President Asuwaju in a conference or summit which is not a a statutory organ of the party.
Yeah.
I expect maybe they will take it, they will convene now a meeting of one of the organs to pass it. But what that means is that APC has become almost like a monarchy.
Okay. What do you say to those who say your assessment of the president are not fair when you say he's not a Democrat? Some would say, if you go back in history, when the APC was formed, I mean, President Muhammad Buhari had attempted to become president 3 times before then. With the help of the man you say he's not a Democrat, Buhari was able to come into office as president, and they say there's an unwritten agreement between both gentlemen that Tinubu will become president at some time. If you accuse one person of the failure of the party, don't you think that is unfair when a whole party cannot decide?
You see the danger of engaging the conversation just at one point is that you lose track of the history. Some of us have engaged the thing even before. I mean, if you are looking for one of the critique of former President Buhari, I qualify to be one of it. I can say publicly, and it's public knowledge.
So when you say Tinubu is no longer a Democrat, what exactly is he now? How do you describe him?
I've said so. He's operating like an emperor. I have said so.
Yeah.
This is not the first time. I have said so several times. Because first, I mean, APC operated for more than a year. None of the organ is functioning. One of the fight as a member of the National Working Committee of the party, and check your record, this studio, you have record of it. I fought against Senator Abdullahi Adamu and Senator Yola Emishore as national chairman and national secretary, largely because they have frozen the structures of the party. And President Aswaju is aware of it. I had discussion with him around some of those issues.
If you were made the chairman of the APC, would you have maintained the same stance?
Of course,
because
yes. I had the same stand when I was national vice chairman.
Okay.
So you are not asking me any new question.
Okay.
That is the trajectory. But the point is, let's remain on track. The point is, the coalition negotiation is not about producing another business as usual party.
Okay, that point has been made. But how soon will Nigerians see this coalition? How soon will it be birthed?
We are conscious of the legal limitation.
Okay.
One of the legal limitations is that if we are serious, we want to really succeed in giving Nigerians a party they can believe in. I tell you, within the next 3 months, we should have settled everything and the party should be in the business of mobilizing Nigerians. Okay, 3 months.
Nigerians are waiting to see this coalition take place. Well, Dr. Salihu Lukman.
I'm not doctor, please. I'm just
okay, apologies again. Salihu Lukman is a member of the 2027 coalition, right? That's what it's called. Yes. Thank you very much. And former National Vice Chairman, APC Northwest. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.